He thought she was just flirting, until her eyes turned cold. Harmonic resonance. The first thing Lena Navarro noticed about Celestial Harmony Station wasn't its impressive rotating rings or the spectacular nebula backdrop. It was the sound, or rather, the perfect absence of it. "Incredible, isn't it?" said Commander Juno, catching Lena's expression as the airlock sealed behind them. "Most stations have that constant mechanical hum, but not harmony." Lena nodded, her trained ear searching for but finding no ambient noise. As Earth's leading xenomusicologist, she'd visited dozens of space installations, but none achieved this level of acoustic perfection. "Your quarters are prepared, Dr. Navarro," continued Juno, "but I assumed you'd want to see the laboratory first." "You assumed correctly," Lena replied, adjusting the strap of her bag containing specialized recording equipment. Her 6-month research grant to study interspecies sound patterns had been hard-won, and she was eager to begin. The laboratory doors parted with a whisper, revealing a vast circular chamber. Sound-absorbing panels lined the walls, punctuated by speakers and recording devices more advanced than anything she'd seen. At the center stood a console surrounded by holographic displays showing audio waveforms that shifted and danced in 3 dimensions. But what caught Lena's attention was the man manipulating those waves with graceful hand movements, as if conducting an invisible orchestra. "Dr. Navarro, meet Orion Vex, our sound engineer," Juno announced. The man turned, and Lena felt a peculiar vibration in her chest, not unlike the sensation of standing too close to a subwoofer. Orion Vex was tall with deep copper skin and unusual amber eyes that seemed to shift in color like sunlight through honey. His dark hair was pulled back, revealing an intricate silver device curving around his left ear. "The renowned xenomusicologist," he said, his voice a rich baritone with an unusual resonance. "Your paper on Centaurian harmonic mathematics was brilliant." Lena raised an eyebrow. "You read academic papers on alien music theory." A smile played at the corner of his mouth. "Sound is my life's work, and yours crosses boundaries most humans never consider." There was something different about him that Lena couldn't quite place, a subtle otherness in his mannerisms, in the way he seemed to listen even when no one was speaking. Commander Juno excused herself, leaving Lena alone with Orion. He gestured toward the console. "Would you like to see what we're working on?" Over the next hour, Orion demonstrated the station's capabilities, manipulating sound in ways that defied conventional physics. With subtle movements of his fingers, he created 3-dimensional sound structures that hung in the air between them like invisible sculptures. "This isn't just audio engineering," Lena observed. "You're treating sound as a physical medium." "Because it is," Orion replied, his amber eyes brightening. "Humans think of sound as something ephemeral, but it's as tangible as light or matter if you know how to touch it." When he made a gentle twisting motion with his fingers, the sound waves condensed into a tight spiral that emitted a haunting melody reminiscent of whale songs. "How are you doing that?" Lena asked, scientific curiosity overriding her usual professional reserve. Instead of answering, he took her hand, sending an unexpected tingle up her arm. "Feel it yourself." He guided her fingers into the holographic display, but unlike typical holograms that offered no resistance, Lena felt subtle vibrations against her skin. The sensation was both foreign and oddly intimate. "That's impossible," she whispered. "Only if you believe sound can't be touched," he replied, standing close enough that she could detect a faint scent like ozone and cinnamon. Over the following weeks, Lena and Orion fell into an intense working relationship. Her expertise in alien communication systems complemented his revolutionary approach to sound manipulation. Together, they began developing a new form of interspecies communication based on harmonic resonance rather than traditional linguistics. Late one night, as they worked alone in the lab, Lena finally asked the question that had been nagging at her. Where did you learn to do this? There's no Earth university teaching what you do with sound. Orion was silent for a long moment, his hands stilling above the console. The ambient sounds they'd been working with faded to a hush. What I'm about to tell you isn't common knowledge on the station, he finally said, his voice unusually serious. My mother was human, a physicist specializing in acoustic engineering. My father was Lyran. Lena inhaled sharply. The Lyrans were one of the most elusive species in the Allied worlds, known for their advanced sound-based technology and physiology that allowed them to perceive sound spectrums beyond human comprehension. You're half Lyran, she asked, unable to hide her professional excitement. That explains your ability to manipulate sound fields. Your auditory processing must be completely different from human baseline. He smiled, but there was wariness in his expression. Most people react differently when they learn I'm not fully human. I study alien music patterns for a living, Orion. I find differences fascinating, not frightening. Something in his posture relaxed. He moved closer, his amber eyes studying her face. The Lyran hearing structure perceives sound as a physical force. We don't just hear music, we feel it, see it, taste it. That sounds beautiful, Lena said softly. It can be, he hesitated. Would you like me to show you? When she nodded, Orion stepped closer and placed his hands gently on either side of her face. His touch was warm, slightly electric. Close your eyes, he murmured. Lena complied, and immediately felt a subtle vibration pass from his hands into her skull. The sensation spread, becoming a cascade of musical notes that somehow manifested as colors behind her eyelids, blues and purples swirling in patterns that matched the melody she was both hearing and feeling. Oh, she breathed, opening her eyes to find him watching her with an intensity that made her heart rate quicken. That's how I experience your voice, he said quietly, like indigo waves with silver highlights. Without conscious thought, Lena leaned forward and pressed her lips to his. The contact sent an immediate harmonic resonance through her body, as if every cell was vibrating at a matching frequency. When they separated, she was astonished to see actual sound waves rippling visibly in the air around them, shimmering with faint multicolored light. That's new, Orion whispered, looking as surprised as she felt. Before they could process what had happened, an alarm chimed softly from the console. They reluctantly separated, and Orion checked the alert. The deep space acoustic arrays have picked up something unusual, he said, his expression becoming focused. A repeating pattern from an unexplored sector. Lena joined him at the console, professional curiosity temporarily overriding the intimate moment they'd shared. The visualized sound pattern was unlike anything she'd seen. Complex, multi-layered harmonics that seemed to fold back on themselves in impossible ways. It's beautiful, she murmured, but I can't identify the species of origin. It doesn't match any known patterns in my database. Mine either, Orion replied, his fingers dancing across the controls to enhance the signal. But there's something about it that feels familiar. As they worked to isolate and analyze the mysterious signal, neither noticed the subtle change in Orion's eyes, the warm amber briefly flickering to a cold, metallic silver before returning to normal. The signal continued to pulse on their screens, its haunting melody calling from the distant stars like a siren song, beautiful and potentially dangerous in equal measure. And as the night hours stretched on, Lena couldn't shake the feeling that their discovery of this signal and their newfound connection were somehow intertwined, threads of the same cosmic tapestry, pulling them toward an unknown destination. Dissonant echoes. 3 days after discovering the mysterious signal, Lena awoke drenched in sweat, fragments of alien melodies still echoing in her mind. The dreams had started the night after her kiss with Orion, vivid sequences filled with impossible geometries constructed entirely of sound. She sat up, rubbing her temples. The station's chronometer showed 300 hours, but she knew returning to sleep was futile. Slipping on her lab coat over casual clothes, she made her way to the laboratory. The doors slid open to reveal Orion already there, his back to her as he manipulated the three-dimensional representation of the alien signal. Without turning, he said, "You're dreaming about it too, aren't you?" "How did you know?" Lena asked, stepping beside him. "Because we're connected to it now." He finally looked at her and Lena's breath caught. His amber eyes now held flecks of silver that shifted and swirled like liquid metal. "Something's happening, Lena, to both of us, but especially to me." The signal had grown stronger over the past days, its pulsating patterns more complex. The station systems had begun experiencing subtle malfunctions, environmental controls fluctuating, communications experiencing momentary disruptions. "Commander Juno thinks we should shut down the receivers," Lena said, studying Orion's face. "She's concerned about the technical glitches." "We can't shut it down," Orion replied too quickly. He blinked, seeming surprised by his own vehemence. More calmly, he added, "It's the greatest xenomusicological discovery in history. We need to understand it." Lena reached out, touching the strange silver device that curved around his ear. "Has this always been silver? I could have sworn it was copper-colored before." Orion flinched away from her touch. "It adapts to my physiology." He turned back to the console. "I've been analyzing the signal's mathematical structure. It contains embedded patterns similar to Lyran communication protocols, but far more advanced." As they worked through the night, Lena noticed subtle changes in Orion's behavior, moments when he would go completely still, head tilted as if listening to something only he could hear. His movements became increasingly fluid, almost rhythmic, synchronized to patterns in the mysterious signal. "Orion," she finally said, "I think the signal is affecting you physiologically." His hand stilled above the console. "I know," he admitted quietly. "My Lyran auditory structures are resonating with it, like it was specifically designed to interface with my biology." "That can't be coincidence," Lena said, professional concern warring with personal worry. "We need to report this to Juno." "Not yet." He turned to her, and for a moment his eyes flashed completely silver before returning to their amber with metallic flecks. "First, we need to locate the source." Against her better judgment, Lena agreed. They spent the next day narrowing down the signal's origin point, a small, unmapped stellar system near the border of charted space. When presented with their findings, Commander Juno reluctantly authorized a research expedition, providing them with a small science vessel. As they prepared for departure, Lena found herself alone with Juno. "Watch him carefully," the commander said quietly. "The medical scans show abnormal activity in his auditory cortex and the Lyran sensory nodes. Whatever this signal is, it's changing him." "I'll bring him back safely," Lena promised, though uncertainty gnawed at her. Their journey took 3 days, during which Orion became increasingly distant. He spent hours in the ship's small acoustic lab, immersed in the signal that grew stronger as they approached its source. During rare moments of clarity, his concern was palpable. "I can feel them reaching inside my mind," he confessed one night, his voice strained. "Using the Lyran parts of me as a conduit, I try to resist, but their harmonics are compelling." "Who are they?" Lena asked, taking his trembling hands in hers. "I don't know yet," he whispered, "but they're ancient. They've been waiting a very long time." When they finally reached the signal's origin, they found not a planet but a vast crystalline structure floating in space, an enormous geometric lattice that pulsed with internal light in perfect synchronization with the signal's rhythm. "It's beautiful," Lena breathed, staring at the viewscreen. "It's a doorway," Orion replied, his voice suddenly different, deeper, with harmonics that made the ship's hull vibrate subtly. His eyes were now completely silver, reflecting the crystalline structure before them. And I'm the key. Before Lena could react, he moved to the ship's communications array and began reconfiguring it, his fingers moving with impossible speed. The signal suddenly amplified, flooding the ship with sound that manifested as visible waves of silver light. "Orion, stop!" Lena cried out, but he continued working, his expression serene yet somehow empty. "The resonants have waited millennia for one with the proper biological harmonics," he said, his voice overlaid with musical tones. "I will open the way." Understanding crashed over Lena like a wave. The signal wasn't communication. It was a form of technological parasitism, using Orion's unique biology to create a bridge between dimensions. Drawing on her xenomusicological training, Lena hurriedly accessed her database of alien harmonic patterns. If the signal operated on principles similar to Lyran communications, there might be a counterfrequency, a disruptive pattern that could break its hold on Orion. As the crystalline structure began to shift, opening like an enormous flower, Lena found what she needed, a Centaurian morning dirge whose mathematical structure directly opposed Lyran harmonics. She fed it into the ship's secondary communication system and amplified it to maximum. The effect was immediate and violent. Orion screamed, clutching his head as conflicting sound patterns battled for dominance. The crystalline structure pulsed erratically, its perfect symmetry distorting. "Lena," Orion gasped, his eyes flickering between silver and amber. "Help me." Understanding what she needed to do, Lena abandoned the computer and moved to Orion. Cupping his face as he had done for her days earlier, she began to sing, not the Centaurian dirge, but a simple earth lullaby her grandmother had taught her. The simple melody created a third harmonic pattern that somehow stabilized the chaotic interference between the alien signal and the counterfrequency. Orion's breathing steadied, his eyes slowly returning to their natural amber. "Keep singing," he whispered, reaching for the controls. As Lena continued her melody, Orion's fingers danced across the console. He was using the three competing sound patterns to create something new, a harmonic barrier that separated his consciousness from the alien influence, while simultaneously closing the dimensional aperture in the crystalline structure. The structure began to fold in on itself, its light dimming. The overwhelming presence of the resonance, a consciousness composed entirely of structured sound, retreated from their minds. "They've been trapped between dimensions for eons," Orion explained later, as they observed the now dormant crystal from a safe distance. "They evolved beyond physical form into pure harmonic energy, but they need biological conduits to fully enter our reality. And you were perfect, human cognitive structures with Lyran auditory capability," Lena concluded. "They weren't malevolent exactly," Orion said, his expression thoughtful. "Just desperate to escape their prison. They've been broadcasting that signal for thousands of years, waiting for someone like me to evolve." Lena studied him carefully. The silver device around his ear had reverted to its original copper color, but his eyes retained small flecks of silver, a permanent reminder of his encounter. "What happens now?" she asked quietly. "The connection isn't completely gone," he admitted. "I can still feel them at the edges of my consciousness, but your song created a boundary they can't cross." His expression softened. "You anchored me to humanity when I was slipping away." "That's what music does," Lena said, taking his hand. "Creates connections across impossible distances." Orion smiled, and for the first time since discovering the signal, it reached his eyes. "I've gained something from this. My understanding of sound has expanded. I can perceive harmonics that exist between dimensions now." "Sounds like we have research material for years to come," Lena remarked. "Years?" Orion raised an eyebrow. "Your grant only lasts 3 more months." Lena moved closer, feeling the now familiar resonance between them, a harmonic connection that created visible sound waves in the air where their energies met. Some frequencies are worth exploring long-term, she said softly. As they set course back to Celestial Harmony Station, the crystalline structure behind them emitted one final pulse, not a signal of domination, but something that almost resembled a farewell. The resonance would wait, seeking another key to their dimensional prison, but that was a problem for another day. For now, as Lena and Orion navigated the stars, they were content to explore the unique harmony they had created together, a duet of human emotion and alien perception, resonating across the stardust between worlds. In her research journal that night, Lena wrote, "Music has always been humanity's most abstract art form, mathematical yet emotional, structured yet expressive. Perhaps that's why it forms the perfect bridge between species, between dimensions, and between hearts. In sound, we find connection. In harmony, we find each other." And somewhere in the darkness of space, new frequencies waited to be discovered.